Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Thursday, April 28th, and CJ and I were joking around before the show started here. Price is pretty lackluster in the last couple of days to weeks here. This is basically the technical analysis kind of worst nightmare here with price not doing all that much. But that being said, Bitcoin is holding up well, all things considered, still seeing some tremendous sell pressure in traditional equities. 10-year continuing to rise today, as well as the DXY. So plenty to talk about before we get started. CJ, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, Monty. Doing well. There is one chart, though, in terms of the technicals that I do want to share because the DXY is reaching another 9 today, another TD sell 9 as we approach one of the most overbought levels in the past couple of years now. Just allow me to clean this up a little bit. So we have our standard TD sequential indicator, but then once it goes into the countdown phase, it doesn't count the numbers, but it's still very useful to count nonetheless because usually reversals will come on in the next 9 count. So if you count the candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was yesterday, and then 10 is coming today, ultimately at a multi-year resistance level after a unprecedented parabolic run-up. So I don't think this trend is going to continue forever, but I mean, it is quite profound, the levels that we're reaching. Really have not done anything like it since 2014 to 2015 and that entire move. But either way, DXY hit a TD sell 9 today. Just thought we could start off with that in terms of some technicals. Also, some articles around Dogecoin as well as Meta platforms reporting earnings yesterday. So, going to get into that and more. Monty, how are you?
Yeah, doing well, CJ, doing well. That DXY chart, man, I'll tell you what, it looks like it could be like a Dogecoin chart after an Elon Musk tweet or something like that, because that thing is just going up without looking like it's going to slow down. And on that note, Dogecoin, like you said, Dogecoin has been an asset that's been seeing more speculation than the rest of the market. And a lot of people are attributing that to Mr. Elon Musk and his acquisition of Twitter. That has brought back a lot of the speculation, a lot of the excitement around Dogecoin. And as a result, we're seeing lots of on-chain activity when it comes to Dogecoin, CJ. Let me quickly pull up this article here. But as you can see, Dogecoin whale transactions reached 3.5-month highs. And, likely Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter has galvanized holders of large amounts of Dogecoin into activity. And, I joked on the cocktail hour with Dirk, CJ, that, some assets trade on fundamentals, some trade on technicals. Well, Dogecoin trades on Elon. And, if Elon wakes up and is wearing a Doge t-shirt, then price is up. And if not, then, price is down. But in this instance, him being all over the news with his acquisition of Twitter has actually been a positive catalyst for the price action of Doge. We first saw it on the day this news was announced. We saw a 19% jump on that day. And, since then, still seeing a lot of trading volume in this asset. So, CJ, the Dogecoin holders love when their boy Elon is in the news, and he's been all over the news in the last couple of weeks. You want to talk about what that means for Dogecoin, and what you think you could see happening going forward with Doge?
Yeah, I don't hold any Doge right now currently, but I definitely am thinking about picking some up. I think the acquisition of Twitter from Musk is extraordinarily bullish for Dogecoin because, Twitter is different from Tesla and his other companies in the sense that everybody uses it, nearly everybody. It's free to use, it's accessible to anyone. He could literally change the logo to a Dogecoin logo tomorrow, and you'd see insane things happen to the Dogecoin price. Something like that will likely happen. I think it's getting increasingly likely, especially when he has a very fondness for like silly, unserious things, and that it manifests in like the expressionism of Doge. So I only think that's going to get more profound as new implements, new things are added to Twitter, and seeing these whale balances move as a result shows you that I think they're thinking something similar along those lines. I'm curious to your thoughts as well. Any
No, I,
moves?
I completely agree. And I think you don't need to look any further than just the last year and how important Twitter's been to crypto. A lot of people don't talk about this all that often, but Twitter, I definitely attribute a large portion of the responsibility to Twitter when it comes to the popularization of NFTs. Because, if you go on Twitter and you spend any time on crypto Twitter, you'll see that a lot of analysts have their NFTs as their profile picture. It really has become kind of the flexing ground for a lot of these people that have spent a lot of money on NFTs and are now using them as profile pictures. And we've talked about it in the past, right? One of the actually the largest use case in 2021 for NFTs was use as profile pictures. And where else are they posting them? On Twitter. That's where most people are seeing these ideas. That's where most people are talking about crypto, and thus that is a good place to flex your NFTs. That really drove up the demand, and there are celebrities, athletes like Steph Curry that had their profile pictures as bored apes at certain points in time. So Twitter can certainly galvanize the crypto market because it is, like you said, CJ, the one of the biggest social media platforms in the world and incredibly influential. So I do think that it is just a matter of time before we see some sort of integration or even just a hint at a possible future integration of some sort of Dogecoin payment rail or something like that integrated with Twitter. And obviously that would be a massive positive catalyst. So I agree. Obviously right now it's largely speculative, but when you have these stars aligning where the richest man in the world is also a Dogecoin holder, he's also trying to buy one of the most influential social media platforms on the world. I think that, that's a once in a lifetime kind of fundamental opportunity to get in on a relatively unique token. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for Doge right now, CJ. But excited to see what Elon does with Twitter and what he decides to do with his Doge bag.
Watch the the brothers of Dogecoin, like Doge Elon, ticker symbol Elon. That one's a meme coin that's done quite well. Sheeb, we'll see. We'll see. Still thinks it probably still gets lumped in with that category of Dogecoin meme coins, though. But let's get to our next topic, which has to do with metaverse plays.
Yeah, CJ, we were talking a lot about the importance of this earnings report that came out for Meta yesterday, and what that could mean as a potential catalyst for assets like Sand and Mana, excuse me. But this morning we have this article coming out, Zuckerberg saying that the metaverse is expensive. You want to talk about this article? Tell us what you're seeing here.
Yeah, so despite the headline, Facebook or Meta did quite well in terms of earnings. Their stock shot up this morning. But in terms of the metaverse aspect of their business, it resulted in a near $3 billion loss. As Zuck says, I recognize it's expensive. Mainly, the way that they've been making money from this division is from their company formerly known as Oculus, which sells the hardware for augmented virtual reality headsets, and ultimately this type of hardware where you go and play VR video games and things like that. So they did about 700 million in revenue during the first quarter from those sales, which is not nothing, but still it totaled in roughly a $3 billion loss for Q1 of 2022, 60% more than its $1.8 billion loss in Q1 of 2021. Um, a couple of comments that Zuckerberg says after this report. We expect to be meaningfully better at monetization than others in the space, and we expect that should become a sustainable advantage for our platforms as they develop. Um, so we'll see. I still lean towards something like Mana or Sand, some decentralized alternative, being able to um, be a little bit more like freer. Because if a situation where occurs where there's tons of adoption in Meta's actual reality or their virtual metaverse, they're going to be taking a lot of rent from their businesses, their participants, anyone who's interacting or creating a life within that metaverse. Whereas if you go with a decentralized alternative, you probably have more of a neutral party and there's going to be less of that rent seeking type behavior. Regardless, the metaverse plays did not do anything extraordinary today based on those earnings reports. They're down like 2 or 3% last time I looked. So nothing that notable, but just wanted to give that report on Meta and see what they have in terms of earnings.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about Meta, I do agree with you, CJ, that looking to some of these decentralized competitors is, probably a good move in the short term. But in the long term, I actually um, I understand what Zuckerberg and Meta are trying to do in the sense that they're like vertically integrating this entire virtual reality experience from, the hardware itself. They own Oculus, down to the actual marketplace within the virtual world. All of that can be monetized, that entire experience. But most of that revenue needs to come from in-game purchases within the metaverse because, obviously the Oculus Rift itself is like a one-time purchase of $300. That's not going to sustain spending $2.8 billion on a metaverse. So really what they need is to incentivize and create demand for in-game items. That's still a long way off in my mind. And I'm someone that owns an Oculus Rift and likes virtual reality, but I still don't see true genuine demand for virtual items in the metaverse yet, especially not anything close to justifying a $2.8 billion loss in the last year. So I don't know. It's a for me, Meta has to be a long term play because right now, just the demand for that use case still is not there. But it is a lofty goal that they're trying to set up, and I understand why they're trying to do it. But currently, the demand for that sort of experience is just not there. So yeah, just gonna keep watching that stock. But ultimately, like you said, CJ, Stan and Mana didn't move much at all yesterday on that earnings report. So seems like they're starting to kind of lose their coupling with Meta here a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just closing out with a little bit of final TA and a short look at Bitcoin. Not a whole lot going on today. Still just kind of in this bearish downtrend channel. Had an interesting little pivot points on the RSI here, but then we're rejected downward. And just a tough day overall for, actually, we're up. A lot of smaller stocks getting hit. ARK's getting hit once again, pretty hard. It's interesting. Just on a side note, we've talked about Mirror Protocol, and it's kind of like synthetics and the ability to trade tokenized assets and tokenized stocks. But I was looking at this BTC ARK pair a lot because ARK's very risk on. Bitcoin's also very risk on. But I mean, this is a very bullish uptrend, really profound. So, anyways, the point is that it's kind of cool. If you go on Mirror Protocol, you can actually borrow ARK, use Bitcoin as collateral to borrow it, sell the ARK, and then buy more Bitcoin. So ultimately, it's the same as the equivalent of being long the Bitcoin ARK order pair. So you can do these pairs trades and cool things like that on Mirror Protocol, and some interesting like engineering there. But those pairs trades could be I like looking at the market in a dynamic more like that as opposed to just everything versus USD.
Yeah, and I know you're excited about it because last night we were talking. It was like 10 p.m. and you're on Mirror Protocol trying to figure this out, and yeah, I could tell you were very excited about it. So definitely something to watch out for there. We'll talk more about it in the Doge of the Day. Also go over a couple trade insights that were published yesterday. All that and a lot more is available if you guys join us at the link below, markrebellion.com/try crypto. And please don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out. It helps out the channel a lot. But that's all we got for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.